Viktor Hovland, thanks for joining us from the Karsten Creek locker room. This place is like a shrine to Oklahoma State golf, huh?
This is where it all happens.
What's the quick story on how you ended up here? How did you get from Norway to the middle of Oklahoma?
Growing up in Norway, I was basically just trying to become the best golfer that I wanted to be, and never thought I was good enough to turn pro out of high school. So I always knew that, okay, college would be the next step, but I had no idea, I don't know the difference between all the colleges. And it wasn't until I started playing a little bit more internationally in Europe. Coach Bratton came out to recruit. He saw Chris Ventura. He went to Oklahoma State. And then when I came for a visit, he kind of told me a lot about how he likes it. And I got a different insight into it. And when I came for a visit here, I just fell in love.
What's the first time you knew that you were good enough to potentially be a pro? Like, was it when you were 10 or 11 or not till you were in college? How did you know?
Winning the U.S. Amateur was a big step. But even then, I was like, okay, I'll finish my last year in school, get a degree, and then maybe after try to play professional golf. But I didn't understand how many opportunities the USAM gave me.
Yeah.
And I was able to play some PGA Tour events on exemption or on invites, and I played a couple of majors. So after kind of the Masters, and I'd even say like the Bay Hill, where I finished 40th, and I didn't really feel like I played all that great, and still made the cut and left a lot of shots out there. And that's kind of when I realized that, okay, I can do this, because I'd missed my first couple of cuts as an amateur. But after kind of making a couple of cuts without feeling like my game was quite there, that was a big one.
Well, then you ran off like 600 straight rounds in the 60s once you kind of were spending more time on the PGA Tour. That must have been affirming and maybe even surprising.
Yeah, obviously in the summer the golf courses get a little bit softer and maybe easier, but they're still good tests. And yeah, my consistency was just awesome. Like I didn't even putt all that great that summer. I was basically just shooting in the 60s every single round, just by hitting it straight and hitting a lot of greens. So that was, yeah, it was pretty fun.
It sounds simple when you say it like that. Yeah. I think some people look at you and they say, all right, here's this kid from Oslo, and sure, he went to college at Oklahoma State. What's he still doing there? You've got clumps of people in different cities elsewhere around the country. Why did you stay around here when you turned pro?
When you turn pro and you start traveling, you don't see a lot of the same people that you used to see out on the road, because you're used to hanging out with your college teammates and the college coaches, and now everything's kind of on your own. I really valued just staying here and being around a lot of the guys that I've been around the last few years. And I'm still involved with the program, and I care about Oklahoma State, and I really like the low-keyness of Oklahoma. So yeah, I just loved it. I think eventually we're looking for kind of the next chapter, but Oklahoma is always going to have a special place.
Yeah, are there logistical challenges that come with being here?
Well, you are in the middle of the country, so that helps. But yeah, we don't have a major airport like Dallas where you can fly everything to direct. But it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Have you found a way to live a fancy lifestyle? I know for a while you said you couldn't really figure out what you were supposed to do with these big checks that you were earning. Have you turned into a fancier guy now that you've turned 25?
Not really. I mean, I think we're constantly trying to upgrade things, and if you want something, I can always get something that I really want, but there's not that many things that I really want. Just having a bigger and nicer house is not like, I kind of have everything that I need. But if I want something, I'm not shy to spend a lot of money on it if I really want it. It's just I just happen to not want that many things.
Yeah. Well, and you still have a roommate here, right? You live in a house with another buddy.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's he's not always there. He's playing some college event as well. But it's nice to have someone kind of look after the house. And when I come home, it's we can chat and play golf together and just hang out.
And do you have a crew of people around here? Because I know there might not be a ton of PGA Tour players around, but yeah, you said you play a bunch of golf with the Oklahoma State guys still, and then there's some other guys around too?
Yeah, I drive down to Oak Tree National, which is about 40 minutes from here. And there's a good crew of professional golfers, younger and slightly older, that played for OU or OSU or a couple of these other schools around here. So we got a good little environment, and every time I go down there, there's a game, and yeah, a little different test of golf compared to Carson Creek.
I feel like from the outside, people assume, oh, there's these stars on the PGA Tour. They're all best friends with each other. Obviously, that can't be the case. You guys all live in different places. It's a pretty individualistic thing. Do you feel like you are more of a lone wolf on tour, or do you have a crew of guys that you hang out with a lot, play with a lot, go to dinner, etc.?
Yeah, there's some guys that I'm closer with. You know, a lot of the guys that I went to school with, or you know, Chris Ventura when he was on the team, and we're both from the same country and stuff like that. But you know, otherwise it's your competitors, and you know, we're just a little different, and it's hard for me to relate to some people. So it does become a very, you know, it is a business, but I still have a lot of good friends from home, and sometimes they come out and hang out. My family comes out, or I have my friends back home here. So that's kind of mainly who I hang out with.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like your competitors, essentially, week to week. When you're on the road, are you still playing poker?
A little bit, yeah.
This was a hobby I was curious about. I know you got really it seems like when you get into things, you get really into them.
Yeah, I like poker. It's you know, it's just a great game, and I think it has a lot of similarities to golf and even life. You know, just understanding probabilities and what's a good mathematical decision to make. You know, you can kind of frame a lot of things in life in that way, and you make good mathematical decisions over the long term, usually it's going to end up good for you. So yeah, I just think it's very fascinating.
Is that a way you approach your golf game also, kind of thinking through the percentages and where you can shave off half strokes here and there?
I think sometimes you can lose yourself a little bit too much in the moment. You know, you miss a couple of 30-footers in a row that don't go in, but it's like, hey, from 30 feet, you're not supposed to make it all that often. So just kind of it sets your expectations at a reasonable level. That doesn't mean that you should strive to try to make that 30-footer, but you at least have a framework to where you can kind of keep yourself a little bit sane.
Yeah. So when you're on the road, are you playing a lot of online poker? Like, you ever get caught and you're like, whoa, it's 2 in the morning. I got a tee time in 5 hours, and I'm
it's
going deep against.
Yeah, not that bad, but I'll, you know, if I'm bored, I've been a lot more busy on the road, a lot more the last couple of years. So I don't have that much time to like get my computer up and sit there and grind. But
are you a conservative player? What's your style?
I'm not very patient, so I'm definitely liable to get out of hand and run some sick bluffs.
But you know what you should do, and then you just don't necessarily do it.
Yeah, sometimes.
Maybe that applies to golf also.
I've definitely been guilty of that. But sometimes it's kind of funny you say that, because sometimes I have to be in the right frame of mind to like play poker. Sometimes if you're a little bit stressed or kind of on edge, or you don't feel that patient, you know, it's easy to get out of line, and that usually punishes me.
Do you feel like fans have gotten to know you pretty well over the last few years as you've been spending more and more time on their TV screens?
Not really, because I think when you're playing golf, they just watch you play golf, and the guy that I'm on TV, I don't think you can really get to know me just by watching me play.
Yeah.
You know, but I think if I were to have a podcast or something and I talk for 10 hours a week and you listen to every single hour, I think you would probably get a good idea of who I am as a person. But when I'm just playing golf on TV, I don't think people really get to know you.
Have you considered that, the daily 2-hour Viktor podcast?
No, I was just making an example. But I don't really. I like listening to podcasts. I'm not the guy that would really listen to myself talk for that
How
much.
would you describe yourself though? What do you think people are missing?
I don't really like. I think I'm very open-minded. I'm curious, and I'd like to think of myself as a thinker. I don't take stuff for granted. I love discussions and arguments without, having any preconceived biases. Like I just like to chat and try to figure things out and learn. Yeah.
How do you want people to see you?
I don't really care about what other people think. I just kind of do what I want to do, and I try to be, a good person and portray myself in a good way. But if someone else don't know me and they don't like it, that I don't really care too much what he has to say.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have made too many enemies out there, right? Joe, are there Hovland haters?
I'm sure there are. Probably lost some people's money out there.
Oh yeah. It's like the daily fantasy guys.
Exactly.
They're probably the ones that you hear from.
I probably pissed off some people.
You have stayed on the PGA Tour through this last couple of years of turmoil. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Growing up, I wanted to do meaningful things, and I think golf at the highest level is played at the PGA Tour, and they have the history behind it. So I want to be where the best players are and where I can make history. Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I am.
Do you like the changes that have happened and are in the process of happening on the PGA Tour?
I don't know. Obviously, we're playing for a lot more money, which is nice, but
you don't know what to do with it, so it's not worth much.
Exactly. So I really don't know. It's an interesting discussion to try to make the PGA Tour better for the fans and make it a better product. Like, is it does the fans necessarily know what they want to make it a better product? I don't really know, like, keep the history and do things what it's always been. Is that better in the long run, or just changing it up all the time depending on what the fans want? Is that a better play long run? I don't know. So I can't critique the changes because I don't know what I would put in place instead. So
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still the same game. I'm trying to go out there and compete against the best players, and that's all I can do. And I can go home here and practice and try to get better. So for me, it doesn't matter too much.
How important is it to you to have some sort of presence on the DP World Tour, even if it's just a few events a year?
Yeah, I mean, I like traveling and seeing new places. So for my own selfish reasoning, I like meeting different people, seeing different places, and just play golf tournaments. And the DP World Tour definitely allows me to do that. And it is the tour that I kind of grew up watching when I grew up in Norway. That would be on the TV for the most part. Watching the PGA Tour would be a little too late for me. I had to go to bed and wake up for school. So I'll watch the European Tour a lot. And so to play over there, I have a few friends over there as well that I don't get to see that much. So hopefully this fall I'll be able to play some more.
And do you feel the pull of Norway? Like, do you get nostalgic for growing up there, or family there that you miss? Like, do you feel far away?
Yeah, a little bit. But I don't know. Like the times that I go home, it's nice to see everyone, but it kind of gets boring as well because I don't necessarily have a life at home anymore. It's more like I'm just home visiting.
Yeah.
And when I'm home and I see my friends, that's great. But in a regular week, they're off somewhere else working. They got their own stuff they got to deal with. Mm-hmm. So, I really enjoy living in the United States, but just going home and see the mountains. Summers are great. Seeing the people, just having fresh Norwegian loaf of bread. The little things like that is kind of what makes it nostalgic.
What's left on your bucket list, or I guess what's first on your bucket list? Are there tournaments you want to win, things you want to accomplish, courses you want to go play that are in some far-flung part of the world?
Yeah, I think like the stuff on my list is more kind of outside of golf, just, traveling to places, see, yeah, just seeing cool places in the world. Like mysteries kind of get my attention a little bit. I just like figuring out stuff, learning about stuff.
Maybe this is the podcast, actually. It's like more the mystery angle, yeah.
Problem is I don't have any strong opinions or any hot takes that I could say. I just want to ask the question and try to figure it out.
Is that what turned you into like a road tripper, this curiosity? I mean, you drove 22 hours north to Lofoten Links last summer. You drove early in the pandemic, I don't know how many miles. You drove to a half dozen tournaments or more. What, 20 or 30,000 miles probably. What inspires your love of the road trip?
Well, I will say I'm probably not going to do that again as many times, but it's one of those things like you go to the airport, you go to a hotel, and you see the golf course. And you kind of do that a few months in a row, and it gets a little old. So I think, especially with COVID, I could just kind of get in my car and drive everywhere. And I would see some places that I would never else see. Not that I saw too much on the highways, but it was still a cool experience to kind of say, oh yeah, the first 6 weeks I drove to all of them, and had everything packed in my car, and it's a lot of freedom with it. You can just leave whenever, stop at this hotel and spend the night. It's really nice.
And then for the rest of this year, what are you looking forward to?
Each and every week I think is pretty fun, but obviously the majors are a big one, and I feel like the last two that I played, I was in contention and had a chance to win. And
I know you've cracked the code here. You didn't have a top 10. Now you've got a couple in a row. What is there anything different?
I think just more experience, and I guess one thing that I'm still working on is, especially on those tougher golf courses, I have the tools to compete, but I noticed that on some situations I'm pushing it a little too hard, and I'm missing it in spots where you can't miss it in. And I don't necessarily need to play perfect to win one of those things. It's just sometimes it's playing smarter, and I feel like I'm starting to learn that a little bit.
When you first started playing golf full time, was it because you loved it or because you were good at it?
A little bit of both. I think I loved it because I was good at it, and I got better at it. So then it's fun. You want to see how good you can get. But if I didn't like golf, I wouldn't have done it for a living, I don't think. I think the pursuit of trying to get better is super exciting in anything that you do. Golf just happens to be the thing that I'm, the best at as a quality of mine, and I want to see, how good I can become at golf. So yeah, I love it. Yeah.
So is that the same now? Essentially, you still love it, but you also love the pursuit of it?
Yeah, I think so. I love competing, but it does feel like a job because obviously we're doing things like this. This isn't necessarily what I signed up for.
This is the good part.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a part of it. In everything you do, it's a grind. Most, 90% of the things you do and you love, it's a grind, but you get those little steps where, you see you're getting better. Oh, I wasn't able to do that before. I think that's pretty exciting. That makes kind of the journey worth it.
All right, well, we'll let you get to the course, put you out of your misery here.
Sounds
Viktor,
good.
Thanks for sitting down with us.
Good to talk to you.